How did we meet?
I asked you out on a date. That's what happened.
Really?
Yeah, because she was like, I thought she was kind of like a bee in the beginning. And then I was like, I need to meet this girl because she's like, we can have synergy and she just seems like cool people. And so I asked her out on a date.
The rest is history.
Hi guys, this is Natela, your business guru at law. Welcome back to my podcast and my YouTube channel. And today I have a very special treat for you. Here with me I have a really good friend and a brilliant attorney and businesswoman, Armine Bazikyan. And I'm very fortunate to have been able to work with her many times. Because there's some synergy in what we do. As you guys might know, I take a very holistic approach to the way that I evaluate my clients and their businesses and their circumstances. I'm not just a transactional attorney or a business litigator. I'm a strategist for the entire situation. And part of the strategy that I develop for my clients is looking at their personal situations and what is happening with their personal assets and whether those assets are protected. And sometimes I'm fortunate enough to be able to work with Armine to create the best possible protection plans for my clients, as Armine is a trust and estates attorney. So I'm going to now invite her to tell you guys a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. So as Natela said, I'm a wills and trusts attorney. So I primarily work with clients creating their plan for the unexpected, whether that's death or incapacity. And then I also help clients, once that death has happened, to administer the trust or to administer the probate estate. And within that world that I am interacting with the clients in, we also do some asset protection planning, right? We're looking at the big picture and we're bringing you in to make sure that the assets that they actually have are well protected. They are placed and situated in a way within their bigger picture of their estate plan, so that if there is a lawsuit and Natela is fighting off someone that's coming at them in a litigation matter, that at the very least she has some really good ammunition or aces in her back pocket to protect and to shield the client from personal liability. So that's what we do, and I think that's where we interact the most, and that's where we issue spot the most. We call it issue spotting.
Right.
That's what lawyers call it. When we pick out your problems that you don't even realize you have.
That's issue spotting, exactly.
We call it issue spotting. The clients would call it telling me about a problem that I didn't
Well, sometimes they don't even know it's a problem,
they don't
right?
know that they have that problem. But,
Right. So I think that you have a very, very interesting approach to how you analyze someone coming into you and saying, I now know that I need a trust. I want to protect my assets. Can you do an analysis of what I have and how I should be protected? Can you talk about that a little more?
I think this is where we get along. This is why we get along and we gel so well together, because we have the same approach. We look at the person as a whole. We don't look at the person in an isolated scenario of what we're helping them with. You know, like if the client is coming in to create a revocable trust, they're telling me, I want to create a revocable trust. I'm not creating a revocable trust for them. I'm creating that trust, but at the same time, I'm like hyper analyzing their business agreement, and I'm telling them, hey, you need a buy-sell agreement with your partner, because if things hit the fan, I don't want to use profanity. I would in this case, but I'm a lady. But if things go bad, you need to make sure that you have something in place. Let's bring in a business attorney to make sure that you're protected from that point. Because even though my job is just to create a revocable trust in that scenario, if there is a lawsuit and they do have a separation with their partner, that asset that I was earmarking in my mind going to their kids is now at risk.
And
my whole job is to make sure that there is
you have to bring it to their attention. Right.
I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if I spotted a problem, didn't tell them about it, and then didn't force them to come see you.
But you're also brilliant enough to be able to spot that problem.
But I think that's the difference between average attorneys and phenomenal attorneys, right? Like you taking a holistic approach, like you don't just look at a client's business portfolio and say, great, we set up your entities, we organized you, we helped you with your litigation, go on your way. You go that extra mile and you say, hey, you have a lot of like assets, you have a lot of wealth. Why
Right.
haven't you put it into a trust?
Right. But I specifically really like your analysis of, and I hope no one takes offense to that if your clients are watching, when a client comes in, they're already dead, and you work
Oh,
it backwards.
yes, my working.
Can you talk
No,
about that?
I actually tell clients that. I'm like, listen, I killed you the moment you walked in, so we're just working backwards.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to be an administrative attorney.
Right.
If you go to an attorney to set up an estate plan and you ask them like, hey, when the event happens and I come to you, will you administer this trust? And they say,
Right.
no, I don't do trust administration.
Right.
That means they have no clue what it is that they've actually written.
No,
They don't know how to put
that's
it
a
into
problem.
words. It's a huge problem, but
Right.
you'd be surprised at the number of attorneys that actually plan but don't administer.
Right. Right.
So that's like the key, I think, key component. And when you do administer, you do end up killing them as soon as they walk in. You
Right.
can't not. In order to plan effectively,
Right.
you're imagining like, okay, both spouses are dead.
Well, I get it. Worst case scenario, what
Worst
happens,
case scenario,
right?
both are dead. I'm the attorney representing the trustee, and we are trying to situate everything to the benefit of the children. Like, what are those kids gonna want? What type of scenarios are they gonna envision? And it's usually the same, right? Like, you know, they'll keep the property or they'll sell the property, or one kid will want one of the properties, the other
Right.
one doesn't. So
Right.
we take into consideration, you know, like capital gains taxes, property taxes, estate taxes, gifting that they've done during their life, and how it's going to affect the family after death. So we kind of take, you know, from the kids'
Well, and what's so
perspective.
amazing is that I also know that you educate the kids. If the parents
Yes.
want to, they come in
Yes.
and you educate them on the
Yeah,
trust.
we have fun little like family sessions.
Right. But that's
where I
great
scare
because
them.
I don't know.
I actually scare them. I don't call it education. I call it scaring.
Oh, whatever works, right? It's for their benefit.
You fight, the attorneys will get richer. I
Yeah.
will get richer
Yeah.
if you fight. So don't fight when that.
Do you do it in that voice?
I actually do.
Scares me a little.
A mask. No, but you know what? Like sometimes the parents will say something like, you know, my kids are in their 20s. Like I don't know how this is going to shake out, and I
Right.
really want them to know I've done this. And I'll say,
Right.
great. Why don't you bring them into your signing appointment?
Right.
And we'll have a powwow session, and we'll just describe, if it's okay with the parents, of course.
Right,
If they want
right.
to be transparent with what they've done, and for most people, they divide things equally.
Yeah,
and say, you know,
well, I mean, if they don't, I imagine that they probably don't want to have that meeting.
Right.
Have you ever had any like explosive situations?
No, we've had like clients in the past that didn't want to tell their children how they've organized things.
Right.
Because they know that it'll upset one over the other.
Right, but never like when the kids found out in front of you and walked
I
out
mean,
and slammed the door.
We've had our share of administrative,
Right.
you know, clients
Right,
where there's dynamics and personalities. and
Right.
I feel like I play therapist more so than attorney.
Right,
And
right.
so it's a matter of getting through the administration and holding this person's hand and talking that one off the ledge and making sure that one is involved enough not to come back and say, hey, I wasn't involved.
Right.
So it just depends on the situation the parents create
Right.
for me.
Right.
And I try to clean it up as best as I can while we're planning it.
Right.
I anticipate the errors or the fights that are going to happen.
Right.
And we try to plan for it accordingly.
Are there many situations other than, I guess, your typical, you know, this is a forged signature or there's duress,
Mm-hmm.
under which one might challenge the trust after the
Yeah.
parents are deceased?
Yeah, there's different things happen, and we get those phone calls all the time, right?
Right.
Like just the other day, I had a phone call from a gentleman who wanted to bring in mom
Mm-hmm.
to do an amendment because his sister, who lives with mom, had taken mom in to do an estate plan,
Right.
to do changes.
Okay.
So it's like we have a puppet in the middle.
And the mom
And
is...
the mom is the puppet, and the
Right.
kids are the puppeteers, right?
Right. So they keep making her make
So they
amendments
keep
against
making
each
her-
other.
and, you know, those type of clients I won't even take on.
Right.
Like, thank you very much. No.
Because it has to be the mom.
I want that individual to call me and say, I'm doing a plan for myself. If anyone
Right.
calls and says, I'm bringing my neighbor in, or I'm bringing, I don't know, like my aunt, it's
Then there
always
might
a
be
red
some-
flag for me of
Right.
some type of duress or some sort of undue influence that happens. But you have that all the time where people drag, you know,
Right.
sickly, older,
Right.
semi-incapacitated individuals into an attorney's office, force them to sign things.
Right.
And there's going to be litigation.
Right. Right. No, I get it.
It's going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, as it does, unfortunately, we do everything to prevent it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I also would like for you to talk just on a very basic level for those viewers or listeners who might not be as familiar with just, you know, estate planning generally speaking. What are the benefits of having a trust? Maybe not even for people who have a bajillion assets,
Right.
but just generally speaking, you know, how it reflects on the probate process, what protections does it grant to the, you know, beneficiaries, tax implications, just, you know, like a brief overview so we can educate my listeners.
So generally speaking, in California, our probate code requires a person's assets to funnel through a system, through a court case. So if they've passed away and they have a will in place, or they don't have a will. So in both those scenarios, the court doesn't care. The court wants to supervise everything. So the beauty of doing an estate plan that incorporates a trust is that you're bypassing that court process. You're saying, no, Mr. Judge or Mrs. Judge, I don't want you to be involved.
Right.
My family will handle this on their own. And the reason we don't want them involved is because it's very expensive in California. If you have like a $500,000 house with a $400,000 mortgage, it doesn't matter that everyone's getting $100,000 in equity, your loved ones.
Right.
It's going to cost about $17,000 in statutory attorney's fees. That means
crazy.
I get paid that much.
Right.
And it's ordered by the court.
Right.
So it's kind of a ridiculous
I wonder if
amount.
there are people who like literally probably abandon their assets because, or can you do that?
Yeah, like there's a lot of mortgage companies that actually initiate the probate proceeding
Okay.
in order to get the process started, where the family will allow that to happen, knowing that they're not getting, it's upside down, they're not getting.
Yeah, they just want to get rid of it.
Right. So the mortgage company will petition the court in that case.
Right.
I always tell the family members, just petition anyway. You be the one that controls that case, because at the very least you can get your.
Right.
As the executor or the administrator of that case,
get something.
You can get your administrator fees, which are the
Right.
same as the attorney statutory fees.
Okay.
So strategically speaking.
And it's also a lot more time consuming, right?
And it's very lengthy. It's about a year time. It's very public, obviously. Everyone's going to know your business.
Right.
So we don't like that. So, you know, for a couple of $1,000, you're setting it up, and then for a couple of $1,000, you're administering it.
Right.
You're well
And there's
under,
also tax benefits
you're
as
well
well.
under that cost basis, right?
Right,
You're
for sure.
paying at least 4 times more if you end up in probate.
Right.
And that's just a modest estate. You just have one house in LA. That's it.
Right.
So they don't care about liabilities. That's how probate works.
Right.
They don't care about your liabilities. They will value the asset and go based on that asset and nothing else. They won't consider anything else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And so, do you think? I don't know. I feel like most people don't think about creating a trust. Do you think it's because maybe death is such a, you know, gory topic that people just they just want to pretend like it's not ever going to happen to them, so they don't do anything about it? Or maybe another sort of thought I had is like they're just not educated enough to know how valuable it will be, regardless of how much or how little they own.
I think it's a combo of both. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of misconceptions, right? They think that the state is going to get their assets, which is not true.
Right.
And that's mostly a motivation for a lot of people, which makes no sense. So it's a lot of lies that are out there, and these lies are created by these document preparation services.
Right. They don't know what they're doing,
that force
obviously.
people to create it, right? But I really think people think that they're invincible. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
Right. So they think that they're not.
That's how my husband feels about our dog.
That your dog's not going anywhere.
I mean, I hope not for a very, very long time, but every time we talk about
You
it,
don't want
he's
to
like,
talk about death.
it's
It's
never
not a
going to
fun
die.
topic. People think that they're invincible. They think like, I'm young, I don't need it. And I don't think they understand the laws. If they understood the laws, and I think if they were good analytically with numbers, and they ran the numbers and said, hey, I have a house that's worth $800,000. It's just an average house in LA. I'm not wealthy. It's going to cost $20,000 just to probate that. I'd rather, push off a couple of thousand and do the plan now.
Well, they probably don't think about it from the perspective of I'm doing this to protect, my loved ones.
Yeah, because they're not going to reap the benefits of what they're doing.
Right.
They're doing it to make it easy for their loved ones, to make the aftermath of their death smooth.
Right.
And some people just don't care. That's another thing. They're like,
I'm not going to be here, so who cares? Right. Well, I think it's very important.
So, if you care about your loved ones, truly cared about their comfort and their stress, you would do it. Because I can't tell you how stressful it is for families to go through.
Well, I can't imagine. I mean, it's stressful enough to lose a loved one, and then to have to deal with probate thereafter. I can't imagine.
It's public, so you get like probate. Anytime we're administering a probate case, The poor administrators will get mail, okay? Just
Right.
from vultures.
Right.
It's like this constant reminder that your dad or your mom or your brother,
Someone that you
like,
love had passed
sibling or
away.
your spouse passed away.
Right.
Every month they'll get
awful.
like 75 mailers, and they'll call
Right.
me and be like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's just trash. Like, don't ignore
Right.
it."
Right.
They're just preying on you because
Right.
you're death, disability, divorce. You know,
Right.
there's people out there that make a living.
Well, off of people who are vulnerable in the time
vulnerable,
of
right.
vulnerability.
So you don't,
Right. That makes sense.
tell you so many stories. We
Okay.
don't have enough time for
Well,
that.
that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that with me. And I think that maybe I want to switch gears a little
Okay.
and talk about the fact that you're obviously a brilliant attorney, but you are also a very smart and successful businesswoman in running your legal practice.
Thank you.
And I'm curious to know what you think has made your practice and the way you operate it so successful for the business owners out there, because a business is a business. It doesn't matter if it's a
Yeah,
law firm
it really
or
doesn't.
if you're a different service provider,
doesn't.
it's a business.
So-
what are your tricks?
I don't have too many tricks. I think at the very core of everything, any type of business that you run, I think organization is the key to any success.
And we know you're the queen of
I
organization.
don't care what you're doing. If you're organized, you will be successful in whatever it is that you're doing.
Okay.
Because you've seen like super highly intelligent Harvard grad lawyers
I have.
that are not successful in their business because they're so disheveled and so disorganized. So I don't care if you have a brilliant mind. If you are not compartmentalizing your thoughts and your processes
Right.
and you're not organizing yourself, there's no way you can be successful. So I
Okay.
think success is a key component. And then I think you have to have a doer personality. Like you have to have a starter personality. You have to just have an idea, but be able to at least take that first step.
Okay.
And I say this all the time, right? I'm like, if I have an idea, if it comes into my mind, I put it out there. Because
Right.
first of all, when I put it out there, people hold me accountable.
Yeah, makes it real.
It makes it super real.
Then
First
you're too
step.
embarrassed not
And
to
then I
follow
always
through.
I always take the first step. I don't care how terrible that first step looks.
Right.
Whether it's like starting an IG page, just
Right.
post something. Just put
Right.
something out there, and then you'll
Right.
just tweak it as you go, and you'll perfect whatever business it is that you're doing. You know?
Right, right,
Like if
right.
you looked back at your business
Yeah.
for a few years back,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Back then?
Yeah, there's
or
always things you've improved throughout
Yeah,
the
of
years.
course. Yeah.
So I say just start, just do something. And I think
Okay,
that's-
but I don't think, I mean,
I don't know. What do you
yes,
think?
it's being a doer, but I think it's really just not having that fear of,
Yeah.
you know,
That
I'm
part
gonna
of my brain
try
is
this and
missing
I'm
the
gonna
fear.
fail,
Yeah,
and then you know I'm gonna be embarrassed, or I'm gonna have wasted resources. I think it's the mentality, and I'm of the same opinion of just going with it, because unless you try it, you're never gonna know, and some things work and some things don't work, and the ones that fail, you learn from them.
Yeah.
So I think that's I agree.
I can't say that about myself, but you can say that about me.
About what? That you have no fear?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, please.
But I
it's
think-
always more obvious from the side, objectively.
I think you're right, though. I think you just have to do whatever it is you have to do without thinking about, how it's
Without
gonna
thining
affect
too hard, I
you,
suppose,
and,
right?
yeah,
What
you
other
just
people are
need-
going to say.
I think being fluid is the most important quality to have
Right.
in whatever you're doing,
Right,
and you're just shifting and pivoting as it goes.
right,
Like you're starting a business, and if whatever program you were using or whatever system you had in place isn't
Right.
working, great, like pivot, do something else,
Right.
And
Right.
you're just learning and growing and learning and growing, and then before you know it, you blink and you have like X amount of employees.
yeah. And you still owe me that.
overhead.
You still owe me that
What?
mega organization tracking chart
yes.
thing that you created.
Yes.
It's on video,
Yeah,
and
I'm putting it out there.
yes, I have to have it.
Totally yours.
Okay.
Yeah, I think organization is very important, but I think fear holds a lot of people back
I
from
agree.
doing whatever they
Yeah, because they just think they're going to fail, so
Whatever,
they
you
don't
failed
try.
anyway by not trying. So
Right.
what's the point?
I agree.
Who cares?
I agree.
Who cares?
Okay.
Yeah. This is why we gel so well.
Yeah, that's right. No fear.
Tell them how we met.
Yeah, we can. Tell them.
It feels like I've known you for maybe about 20 years or
Yeah.
25 years.
Yeah, for sure. We could have been in
Like college together or something.
Well,
like if
whoa.
No?
It hasn't been 25 years since I graduated from college. I was doing the math in my head. I'm thinking more like high school-ish.
Yeah. No, I would have totally been friends with you in high school.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's too bad that all this time's been wasted when we didn't know each other.
So many years of absence, Natela absence. No, we met through a networking organization.
Yes. And then I asked you out on a date.
Natela sat right next to me, and she was a new member of our group. And well, my first reaction, or my first impression of you was, who is this young, fabulous attorney? Because we don't have a lot of like young female attorneys.
Fabulous attorneys.
That are just business owners themselves, right?
Right.
I think in the legal industry, especially, females get tucked away.
Right.
They get tucked away into an office, and then whether they survive or not,
right.
Either they survive and they do well at a law firm, or they bow out to have a family.
Yeah. Or go in house.
Or go in house,
right.
Yeah. So that was my first impression of you, and then you asked me out for breakfast.
Yes, and then the rest is history.
We immediately clicked, and it was almost as if we've never.
Yeah, it was funny.
apart.
Like the first 10 minutes, we were like, "Oh my God, I'm doing this with my business," and she's like, "Oh my God, I got to do that," and I'm like, "Oh my God, and you're doing that, I got to do that."
This, and then do that.
Yeah.
And
then I'm like, "Oh my God, it's been 2.5 hours. We got to get back to work."
Well, I think that's the good thing, right? Like people always get surprised that we've only known each other for such a short amount of time.
Right.
If you have that personality, or other people's successes do not overpower you,
right.
or do not, just make you uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, I never think about that, but a lot of people do, I suppose.
That's what it is. I think at the core, it's being a person, a human being that sees yourself separate and individual from everyone else. You don't compare yourself to everyone else. You compare yourself to
I
you.
do, but I also have this feeling of like, I want you to also be successful. Like I get excited when you text me and you're like, "Oh, I did this and like it worked well," and I'm like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
Like that makes me really happy that there is another like powerhouse woman with her own law practice that's kicking ass.
I feel like we share so many ideas, right?
Yeah, of course. We're gonna take over the world. I don't know if that should be. I don't know if that should be on video. Don't tell anyone. It's gonna be our secret.
It's really good to have that support. I think, especially when you're a parent.
Yeah.
Female number one, minority number two.
Parent.
Right.
Wife.
And then, like, to top it off, you're juggling like keeping two humans alive. While you're
somewhat. Hopefully.
Everything else.
Right.
And I don't think we have connections. I don't think we have those communities. So it's good to have a community of like seeing people that are
similar and
doing, really well, and you're like, okay, good. Like I look at you and I get encouraged. I'm like,
yeah, same.
Natela is doing amazing. I can do this too.
Exactly.
So it's really nice.
I agree.
But yeah, that's our love story.
Yes. Oh. Well, this is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and thank you so much to the wonderful and beautiful, for those of you who can't see her, Armine, for spending this time with me today. And we will most definitely be back together on air again. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already, and subscribe to the podcast. Everything is in the notes. Thank you again, and I will speak with you guys next week. Bye.